I am Shav, and my speech is about empowering communities with technology. Um, so, as long as I can remember, I've delighted in picking things apart to see how they work. The slow crush of capitalism marched on and left behind an endless flow of products for me to rip apart and delight at what I found inside. Eventually, my father purchased an Arduino, which is a kind of programmable circuit board for me. By programming the Arduino to react to its environment, I was able to create simple robots. For the first time in my life, I could create instead of marveling at others' creations. Eventually, I moved on from hardware to software. Programming was a much more efficient way to create and explore my ability to solve the problems around me. Instead of having to purchase components for robots that would eventually end up in landfills, I could buy a single laptop and create anything I could imagine, using it for decades. Fundamentally, programming is an expression of one's ability to solve problems by giving a computer instructions. Instructing a computer is a tricky thing though. The only way to do it efficiently is to be able to break a problem down into sub-problems and then solve these smaller issues. It's ironic then that computers are antithetical to one of the most important problems of my generation, climate change. We programmers solve problems as a profession, and yet the very act of us solving problems directly contributes to worsening the existing one of climate change. I find myself torn between two of the most important things to me, my future and my happiness. On one hand, I can try to play my part in sustaining the future of our planet by renouncing technology and working to be an activist for climate change. On the other hand, I can preserve the thing that makes me most happy, programming and technology, at the possible cost of my future on this planet. At least, that's what I'm told. The thing is, I'm not so sure it's this black and white. Over time, I'm growing more and more convinced that technology is the only way to preserve the future. Never in the history of humankind has there been a communication method so widespread and efficient as the internet. Never before have such large groups of people been able to organize themselves with a common goal. Maybe the key to solving this looming issue doesn't rely on each person individually, but on larger communities working together. According to the UN, some of the current leading causes of climate change are power generation and product consumption. The way I see it, the internet and the people capable of manipulating it are at a unique position to spread real change using the technology we have created in the last century. The largest contributors to climate change are not programmers, but the massive corporations that they work for. If instead there was a shift towards a trend to create a less materialistic lifestyle, then maybe things could change for the better. The simple truth is that most people are aware that their actions are destructive to the environment, but simply choose to do them anyway. I think the fault for this lies not in individual people, but the profit-driven motives to manipulate them to act in this way. There exists enough money in this world to create serious change and to better the lives of many, many people. Capitalism was funded and sold on the idea that a trickle economy would steadily lift the bottom class up using the wealth of the upper class. This has stagnated and rotted, leaving the lower class of society to fend for themselves against the toxic pressures of large companies and profit-driven organizations. That's why I believe that my role as a programmer is to use my unique position as an arbiter of the internet to organize and push for change. Technology has both crippled and empowered us, and I want to use it to help push us in the right direction. I do this in many ways in my own lifestyle. I try to bike instead of driving when I can, and when I can't, I carpool as much as possible. One way to support this with technology is to create easy access to resources, enabling people to carpool or share bikes. Another is to create online campaigns, encouraging philanthropy from those able to contribute. Technology enables these things as much as it ruins them. Instead of an internet infested with advertisements encouraging a toxic lifestyle and unhealthy social life, we should be striving to create a platform that encourages people to be their best selves, regardless of their situation, and supported by empowered communities. The modern internet has led rise to communities of millions united around a single idea. Reddit and Facebook are a second home to millions of bird enthusiasts, people who like cats. Hell, there's even a massive group of people focused on a single episode of some obscure TV show from the 80s. These communities exist, and many people care about preventing climate change. So why is so little happening? Of course, it can never hurt to spread word about climate change, as I am currently doing, but that doesn't seem like enough. We as individuals are forced into a lifestyle of buying disposable containers and dumping our trash, all for the sake of a profit to someone else. In our current age, it's easier to live a lifestyle destructive to the planet than it is to do so sustainably. I don't know if there's a good solution to this, but I think a good start is by spreading word. As a programmer, I've also been doing the best I can. I spent the last 9 months designing a project called MoleRat, which is a system for data transfer between computers. Similar to the internet, but designed to be resistant to advertising, secure, and as accessible as the user needs. Foundations like this can be powerful tools for efficient communication within communities. I have also been architecturing an app to allow for effective ride sharing. People can enter in drives they plan to take, and other people can request a carpool for sections of it. To the best of my knowledge, platforms like this don't exist, and I believe they should. Maybe more money could be made from an Uber-style program, but it's becoming clear that if we don't do something to push back, all the money in the world won't be able to upright the domino chain of disaster. So really, when it comes down to it, I am a programmer, and I plan on using my skills to help enable communities to be more climate friendly. I hope that by spreading these ideals, communities and individuals are inspired to utilize the tools that I create and work within themselves to sustain our collective future on this planet. Who here is part of an online community or uses social media that they plan to check today or next week for some of us? I would encourage you to consider making a post about how the average family in America uses 10,700 kilowatts of power every single year. Or how you're going to practice sustainable living in your own home. Nowadays, we're surrounded by communities both online and off. If you are part of any, maybe you can help empower our communities towards a better future.